What's going on, FA Nation? Welcome to the Fantasy Alarm DFS NBA live stream. We have a huge 11-game main slate tonight. Our phones are blowing up, James and I, right now, heading into preparation for this. Just injury news after injury news, updates, guys playing, guys who are ruled out now all of a sudden could play. Gordon Hayward, no minutes limit anymore. Derrick Rose and the entire starting five of the Timberwolves minus Towns is questionable, but then also like Covington and Sarge might play now. Like, who knows what's gonna happen? This is crazy. We're gonna be doing a ton of work leading up to roster lock tonight. James has already probably had to switch the example lineups about 1,500 times.
Accurate number.
Yeah. How are you doing over there, James?
I'm really stressing, man. I really almost just said a curse word. I almost just swore and dropped a. It's hectic. It's fun, hectic, but it's stressful at the same time. There's been 100 pieces of news in the last 30 minutes that have just moved the needle back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. But I'm ready to dive into the slate.
Yeah, I mean, we definitely have a lot to get to, but before we do, let's hit our sponsor, Prize Picks. Isn't free and easy good? Prize Picks is easy. Simply select 2, 3, or 4 players, then decide if each player will be under or over their posted projected fantasy points. You control who you select. You control how much you play for. As for the free part, if you sign up for Fantasy Alarm, you get a free entry with the chance to win $25 cash. Plus, Prize Picks will give you an instant 200% deposit match. So hurry to fantasyalarm.com/picks. Get in the game. That's fantasyalarm.com/picks. Prize Picks, daily fantasy sports simplified. So get it over there. 200% deposit match is pretty insane. Should definitely go and take advantage of that. James, like I said, just so much to get to. So many. Why don't we break down the injury news we have, what we're waiting on? What updates do we got right now?
So apparently Russell Westbrook is now a game time decision. He was ruled out all day. He hasn't played in a few games. Now he's might play. So that would obviously kill Dennis Schroeder. Kill the Dennis Schroeder dream, even though Dennis Schroeder was pretty expensive. We're still waiting on Damian Lillard. He's leading towards probable. But again, late night hammer, we're not going to know if Lillard actually plays, not going to play. We just got news that Jared Allen is out. So we got a bump to Ed Davis, Spencer Dinwiddie, DeMario Carroll, basically the whole Brooklyn team. Not that Jared Allen is a huge usage player, but it just puts players in better spots. Derrick Rose is now questionable. The Timberwolves also have already come out and said Jeff Teague and Andrew Wiggins are game time decisions. They went through shoot around again, but who knows? They're game time decisions. Nikola Mirotic,
Covington too. They might come back and play.
Yeah, they might play. Nikola Mirotic is playing, so that hurts Drew Holiday. That hurts Julius Randle. I'm out of breath. And there's no Cedi Osman, another one, is now apparently playing. Not going to start, so Larry Nance will probably continue to start, but now Cedi Osman is playing. Marcus Morris has been ruled out with an illness. Gordon Hayward is no minutes limit, as you already mentioned. So there is a lot to get to. So let's just jump right into point guard, John. I mean, game totals. There's some big ones. There's a couple over 220. Portland, LA dropped 4 points since the start of the night. New Orleans, Minnesota is 236 slate high. Yeah. And actually, Philly, Orlando has dropped from 222 to 218. Something also to notice. Detroit, Toronto also dropped 224 to 221. So all the big totals are dropping. Miami, Brooklyn now down to 215 with now that we know Jared Allen's out. So a lot of things moving the needle here. A lot of totals dropping. Some totals rising. Utah, Dallas, for whatever reason, has risen to 215. I don't want to talk about that much, but yeah, we should definitely jump into the plays because we have 25 minutes to talk about 1,000 players.
Yeah. So let's just start it off with the guys that we were looking at earlier. We mentioned on the podcast, Kyrie Irving, Kyle Lowry, John Wall. We both kind of agreed that the price for Wall and FanDuel is too expensive. Don't hate it as much on DraftKings. Both of you and I were on Kyrie Irving. He's in this Fantasy Alarm starting 5 video. That was before the news broke that Gordon Hayward was ruled out. Not ruled out, rather. Don't ignore that. Gordon Hayward's minute restriction is lifted. Marcus Morris is the one that's ruled out. So I don't know how that really impacts Irving per se. I still think he's an okay play here against Chicago. We're looking for a bounce back game for Kyle Lowry here against Detroit, and a good matchup for him against Reggie Jackson. You were in on Derrick Rose, but obviously now we don't know his status. Where are we going at the top of the point guard position here?
So let's just get this out of the way quickly. I think if Russell Westbrook ends up playing and is not on a restriction, because I think that's the only way he doesn't play, he instantly becomes an elite play with Emmanuel Mudiay defensively. Just the whole Knicks starting Mudiay, Kevin Knox. They don't have any good defenders. Mitchell Robinson, okay at the rim, but Westbrook's too athletic. So I think we should get that out of the way. If he plays, if you're building 100 lineups, especially on DraftKings, you could play him. It's an 8 o'clock start, so if you're playing like an Anthony Davis, you could pivot to Westbrook in the utility if you really wanted to be contrarian. I like Wall 10.2. I'm only playing him in cash games at FanDuel. He's a viable option in all formats over on DraftKings. Not playing Ben Simmons. I think Kyrie hurt. I think this news hurts Kyrie slightly. I mean, we saw Hayward already play 31 minutes last game, and Kyrie still got 45. So I think he should take a little hit, and I would still play him because I think this takes people off of him, just like we're kind of saying. So maybe we get a usage thing where our ownership thing where it's lower than it should be. Also, if Damian Lillard plays, I think he's one of the top per dollar plays on this slate, period.
I agree with you there. If we're looking down towards the mid-tier, with the news that Jaron Allen's out, Karis LeVert is out, a lot of people may look at D'Angelo Russell. I'm not going to fault you for that play. But this season, with those two guys off the floor, Spencer Dinwiddie, 1.05 fantasy points per minute, leads the team in usage rate at 28.7%. Really nice price tag on both FanDuel and DraftKings. FanDuel is $5,800. Over on DraftKings, Dinwiddie's $4,900, where I really think he's one of the more automatic plays of the night. Where are you on Dinwiddie? What other guys in that price range do you consider?
So I think Dinwiddie was going to be popular with just LeVert out, and now he's going to be even more popular. Just knowing that there are a few more rebounds here and there, there are going to be a few more shot attempts here and there. So I think Dinwiddie's a really elite play on this slate, especially over on DraftKings at 4.9K. If Jeff Teague plays, I want so much exposure, but we're not going to know because the Timberwolves are the worst.
It's true.
I'm hoping
you can put him in your lineup though, and then pivot off if he doesn't play.
And he's only 5.6K. So how about this? Let's say in a lineup you don't have Dinwiddie, it's an easy pivot right to Spencer Dinwiddie if Jeff Teague doesn't play. I know it's a 7:30 start and Teague's an 8, but we should probably know we should probably know by then. Mid-tier, other than that, I like Derek White over on DraftKings more, where he's under 5K. I think there's upside. Phoenix ranks 30th against point guards this year. Ryan Arcidiacono for value could be okay. I don't know if it's chasing or not. I think he should see minutes regardless because Kyrie's not a good defender. It's not like they're going to put Marcus Smart on him ever because that's just kind of wasting what Marcus Smart brings to the table. Marcus Smart's going to guard Zach LaVine, right? So I think Arcidiacono doesn't have the worst matchup, but I think just the plug and play guy for me of the slate right now is Emmanuel Mudiay. Starting, he's seen 25 minutes in 3 of the we should probably project him. Not 25, excuse me. He's played 20 or more in 3 of the last 4, and the Orlando game was a blowout. So I don't really, let's just throw that away.
Okay.
I think they're doing this because the Knicks were lacking offense. Think about it. Frankie Smokes, not known for his offense. Noah Vonleh, not known for his offense. Mitchell Robinson, not known for his offense. So Mudiay getting plugged into the starting rotation makes me think that there's more shot attempts that, he's going to get. We probably should project him 25 minutes or so, maybe 30. And a 4K against, hopefully, I'm praying Dennis Schroeder defense because we all know we love attacking Dennis Schroeder.
Yeah.
That would be the case. And I also don't have a problem if it's up against Westbrook either because Westbrook, is he really going to push himself in first game back if he comes back and plays on the defensive end? Well,
I think that if he's on the floor, it's because he's healthy to give it all. So I don't think he's going to come back and play at 80%. I think he's going to come back play at 100%. The question is, how long does this game stay competitive if the Thunder are at full strength here against the Knicks?
Do you think Mudiay doesn't play blowout minutes though? Or do you
I
think
really don't know.
enough? Do you think? I mean, I think I think he gets enough minutes in the first 3 quarters. Like
Okay.
if we were to see 24, 25 minutes, I think he can get that in 3 quarters. So
Okay, I won't argue with that. I think that's definitely something that's in his realm for sure here. If we're gonna consider a couple other guys, I think Goran Dragic against Brooklyn is someone we can look at. Coming up a big game. Last time out against Philadelphia at 40 fantasy points. If he's healthy, this is a really good matchup for him to take advantage of. And then one other guy I was looking at earlier, and I mentioned to you off air, but I think there's potential for Terry Rozier to get a usage bump here with Marcus Morris off the floor. I know Gordon Hayward now playing full minutes, maybe throws a little bit of a wrench into that, but this year with Morris off the floor, Rozier is averaging nearly a fantasy point per minute. More shots could be coming his way. Morris is a guy that takes a lot of shots. He was the sixth man, the primary scorer off the bench for them. So I think maybe Rozier could take on that mantle. It'll be something worth watching. GPP only, obviously, if you're in a bunch of lineups. But I think there's some potential there for Rozier as well.
I loved it before the Gordon Hayward news. Now I
also think Rozier plays blowout minutes as a bench player.
That's fair. And if you're projecting this game as a blowout, then I definitely can see the path. So I mean, I'm not gonna. It's obviously a GPP play, as you said. So yeah, I mean, it's fine. It's just think it's an 11 game slate. So like, there's other routes and but he's going to be like negative percent owned.
Right. Sometimes it's okay in multi-entry GPPs to differentiate a couple of the lineups. Right. Just a guy to throw out there at you. Jump the shooting guard. Draft on FanDuel, rather. We have Drew Holiday at 9K, DeMar DeRozan at 8,900, and then three guys at 87, Jimmy Butler, Bradley Beal, Zach LaVine. You and I were kind of discussing this a little bit earlier, kind of going back and forth. I think Beal may be the safest play of the group, maybe aside from Holiday. I know you like Holiday, but Mirotic comes back, and maybe that throws a little wrench into there. I love DeRozan against Phoenix. Loved him last time against Phoenix, but they blew out Phoenix, and he played like 30 minutes and didn't hit value. Butler with the new team there, you wonder, he's going to start at small forward, but you wonder how the chemistry is going to be there right away. And then Zach LaVine, again, we're talking about potential blowout here. Maybe Marcus Smart gets on him a lot defensively. So I think Beal is the route I'm going if I'm paying up on FanDuel, at least it's a shooting guard. What's your take on this position?
I don't necessarily like any of them at their current evaluations on FanDuel. Like I love Drew Holiday, and I still thought there was a ceiling without Mirotic. I think he's okay. Like I think we can get 45 out of him. I'm not banking on it like I was when Mirotic was questionable. I think DeRozan, like you said, is a wild card because if this game stays close, he can give us 60. So tournaments only.
Sure.
I'm staying off Butler just for this game. If he beats me, he beats me. I don't know how this is all going to shake out. I think again with Simmons, I'm iffy about Simmons. I really think the only two that it doesn't affect is Joel Embiid because Embiid's going to take his shots no matter what, and JJ Redick because they still need someone to space the floor. Yep. Other than that, it really impacts everyone. So I'm staying away from Butler, and I think you're right. I think Beal is the safest, especially on DraftKings at his price tag. It's ridiculous. And then LaVine, another wild card. If you think that game doesn't blow out, LaVine is obviously in play. It's just tough with
13-point spread too now, and
and like we said, Marcus Smart defense looming. So and Jaylen Brown isn't the worst defender. He's very athletic. So
the Celtics typically are a good defensive team anyway. So I agree with you there. We did bring up, last time the Spurs played the Suns, it was a blowout. Didn't get all the value there. Devin Booker didn't play in that game. Probably had something to do with the fact that it was a blowout. Overall, his fantasy production's been down over the last couple of games. He did have a huge game against Boston, like he always does. That one was an overtime game. But if you think he plays like he should tonight, maybe that gives me a little bit more interest in DeRozan, knowing that they'll at least have a guy that can put up 20 to 25 points against that team. Spurs defensively have been getting a little bit better. They're still not great. I think DeRozan and Beal are probably the two guys I'm looking the most at. I think there's probably could be a lot of ownership on Butler tonight because people sort of like the appeal of like the new toy there in Philadelphia. They want to play him and see if he has a huge debut or not. It's a good matchup against Orlando. But no, that's where I'm standing. I think I'm going Beal to Rosen at the top. If I'm picking, if we're going down towards the mid tier, CJ McCollum, right? I think that's the guy we're playing.
Yeah, lock and load CJ McCollum. I mean, 30 actual points last time against the Lakers with Damian Lillard also scoring 30 actual points. So it's not like they can't coexist and thrive together. We get a huge pace-up spot. The Lakers are second or third in the NBA. Portland is like 18th. So we get more possessions. Nobody there to defend them. 6.4K and 6.6K, just too cheap for a guy who's scoring the basketball the way he is right now. So I think McCollum's a lock and load. And I think a sneaky play if Andrew Wiggins plays for tournaments, if he plays. Just because there's just, like, we know what his minutes will be if he plays, right? I know Covington and Sarge muddy the waters, but I think they muddy the waters more at, like, you can see maybe if Rose doesn't play, Wiggins play more shooting guard, and then you have, Covington play a lot of small forward, Sarge play some small forward and power forward. So I think there's a path for Wiggins to be really sneaky. Again, another guy who's going to be like 4% owned, if he's active. So
I agree with you. You mentioned the potential of Westbrook playing. If that does end up happening, we have Tim Hardaway Jr. against Dennis Schroeder. I think that's
yeah. That is an interesting concept because that's what we want to do. We want to attack Dennis Schroeder, and I didn't know
Hardaway has 50 fantasy point upside when he really gets it going. So GPP play there. I like Clarkson tonight. I know that he's going to play 25 to 30 minutes. I don't think Osman's potential, coming off the bench, minutes monitored is going to impact him that much, if at any. I don't care that it's really a back-to-back here either. I think this is a good spot for him. I think we can go there. You're on Brogdon tonight. I know you mentioned him a few times. The production of late's been really good. For me, I wonder, does Memphis have the ability to keep this a game to allow Brogdon to kind of get the production that he's done over the last few games in what could have been better matchups?
That is the worry. And obviously, when we play, so Russell Westbrook officially ruled out. Serge Ibaka ruled out. So just rip up. Throw it away, baby. We'll get to that. So
that's all the Valanciunas minutes then.
All the Valanciunas minutes, and and Pascal Siakam.
OG Anunoby, right?
OG Anunoby. I think the Westbrook news now puts Dennis Schroeder back firmly in play in cash games. I think. So I think we can go back to Dennis Schroeder for cash.
Yeah.
So that's now my favorite shooting guard, like from 7K up for cash games. Dennis Schroeder, now my favorite.
Yeah, I like that. Love these news as they break here on the show. You get to see our reactions because this is what we're doing half the time anyways. We get the text push notifications. We look at them. We throw our hands in the air. And we just start editing our lineups because who the heck knows? Going further down, if Ibaka's ruled out, Danny Green sitting there, maybe there's more shot attempts for him. He hasn't really hit value at all of late. The minutes have been down as well, but again, the rotations are going to shift there. I know Ibaka primarily plays center power forward, but again, you think the way that their rotation is going to move, maybe he ends up seeing some additional run. You mentioned you don't mind Jaylen Brown. I don't hate it either. I think, maybe there's potential for him to be that bench scorer with Marcus Morris gone. The way that rotation is going to play out, they have to move somebody to the bench the way the starting five is. They can't. Right. They're struggling right now, and I think that Jaylen Brown to the bench and Marcus Smart into the starting lineup is what makes the most sense. I wouldn't mind seeing Brown run with the second unit a lot here tonight. Maybe that's something we see again. GPP only options. I know you're a Josh Kogi guy if we find out the entire team's ruled out. So we'll have to wait and see there. Anybody else, I guess, sticking out to you? You were kind of an interesting guy on the podcast last night. That was Furkan Korkmaz. We're saying his name correctly. 22 minutes each of the last two games, 24 fantasy points in those two games. I don't know. Maybe they need some help at shooting guard off the bench.
Maybe. I think it was a pipe dream with Butler out. Like if you for whatever reason played him, good for you. But like with Butler back, I don't think 11-game slate. Like if this was a 5-game slate, 4-game slate, sure. But 11-game slate, I just think we don't even need to touch it.
We missed it again. We forgot about him pretty much till the end of the podcast yesterday. We forgot about him again here tonight. If Dame Lillard's ruled out, I think Seth Curry could start at point guard.
Damn it. We did forget about him.
We did forget about him again. But I'm remembering him now. He's min price on FanDuel. So I think if Lillard is ruled out, Curry could start at point guard. The last couple of games, the minutes have really been up there. He's cracked 20 a handful of times already this season. He's not Steph Curry. We don't confuse him for that. But when he was with Dallas and playing good minutes, like there was actually some decent amount of production coming from him. So got to keep him on our mind as that Lillard news hopefully rolls out. Probably won't until after roster lock, but again, something to think about there. One last shooting guard, I just kind of rolled through him. Wayne Ellington. He's going to play 30 minutes. He's $3,700 on FanDuel. He's pretty much cheap over on DraftKings too. Like him on DraftKings more, you get the 3-point bonus. You said he took 10 threes last game? Something like that? Something crazy? So keep Wayne Ellington as a potential bargain play. Take a deep breath. Move to small forward, where we have Giannis, LeBron, George, Kawhi, and Mirotic all on FanDuel, all in play. Obviously, Mirotic is the cheapest of the two. Kawhi without Ibaka is a little bit more interesting maybe now as well. George without Westbrook. LeBron obviously is LeBron, and Giannis is Giannis. Where do you go?
So I think
Ray James.
Okay, so we ranked them. I'm going to rank them a little differently than I did last night because I'm having a hard time now ignoring Kawhi's price, especially with Ibaka out, 30% usage rate. He's going to get all the shots. Okay, it's just 8.6K and 9.2, too cheap for him. So cash games, I love Kawhi. I think I also love Paul George for cash games. It's really hard not to like him. He's going up against Kevin Knox, who's a rookie who hasn't really flashed much upside defensively. Think there is potential, but right now I don't love it. LeBron seems too cheap for me on DraftKings, too expensive on FanDuel, and Giannis is what Giannis is. If you want to play him, there is a A+ ceiling and there's a 50 floor. So I think he's fine, but that pace of that game worries me. Milwaukee's 5th in pace in the NBA. Memphis is dead last. So there could be a lot of possessions that we normally see Giannis without tonight. So I'm he's fine, but I don't love it. So that's kind of how I'm breaking down that top tier of small forwards.
That's fine. If we jump down now to the tier below, Robert Covington against New Orleans, he's probably going to start if he's active, right? We think. He likes to shoot a lot of threes. We know Pelicans can't defend the perimeter. Interesting to look at him. TJ Warren, since he's been in the starting lineup, has been lights out. I think you got to play him. I think this is why I'm a little bit more on the Spurs side of it tonight, is the fact that I think Warren being in the starting lineup and Booker being in the starting lineup could make this game a little bit more competitive. Still a good price tag for Warren. Gordon Hayward, again, no minutes restriction. He's $5,700 on DraftKings. On FanDuel. On DraftKings, he's $5,100. So again, really, really good price there for Hayward. It also saves us on FanDuel from Kyle Anderson, who you put me to sleep talking about during the podcast last night. I don't think we need to go there anymore, thankfully. Evan Turner, again, if we find out that the news there with Dame Lillard being ruled out, Turner's a guy that's certainly in play. Derrick Rose has been ruled out. Andrew Wiggins is available, as we're reading.
Jeff Teague also
is available. So lock and load. You love Teague, right?
Love Teague. Absolutely love Teague.
So you love Teague, even though he may see Drew Holiday defense. Andrew Wiggins is definitely somebody that's certainly in play now at shooting guard. And then
Karl Anthony Towns is...
Yeah. Towns is a really good play. DeMar Carroll, $4,000, I think is someone we have to look at. With the news with Allen being out, Covington will start tonight as we're getting these flash updates, so that's what I expected there. Carroll, $4,000 on FanDuel. He's what, 41? You said on DraftKings.
Yep.
I think he's one of the better value options. I think he's going to see the minutes continue to rise for him as he's returned to the team. This could be a 30-minute night for him, I think. Definitely interested. You mentioned Anunoby with Noah Ibaka. He's averaging, I think it was close to a fantasy point per minute.
20% usage, 8.8 fantasy points per minute.
So, again, a guy that we can look at as well for value. There's a lot of value. I think we keep on rolling down the list here. We mentioned Mikal Bridges. If that game does be a blowout, in that blowout loss against San Antonio, he ended up playing 27 minutes, had 26 fantasy points. So, again, we can continue to sort of work our way down. There's a lot more value, certainly.
Did you mention Gordon Hayward?
Yeah.
I mean, I know we talked about him at top. I just want to say, I want to reiterate that he is a very good play. He is a very good play on both sides. Tonight.
Yeah, no, I agree with you. He's 51 on DraftKings, 57 on FanDuel. Wilson Chandler is still mid-price. I think his minutes are about to go back up again once he's medically cleared. He's still limited due to apparently a hamstring injury. But recent news says he is the starting power forward there in Philadelphia. So, again, mid-price starter for Philadelphia. I think that's some value to be had in that sense.
Yeah, with all of this kind of value just opening up recently, I don't think we need to do it. But I get it. And he's going to be very productive soon. But right now, tonight, there's just
he's a 3-point shooter on a team that's desperate for 3-point shooting.
Right. Which is why I do agree with you in a sense. I definitely do agree with you.
Power forward, we have obviously Anthony Davis against Minnesota. Blake Griffin against Toronto, LaMarcus Aldridge against Phoenix, sort of topping off that list. AD seems too expensive for me. I know that's weird to say because he has 80-point upside, but kind of looking at the other guys that I want to spend up for on this slate, I don't know if he's going to fit into my roster builds. There is a lot more value opening up like we've talked about, so maybe you can go stars and scrubs with Davis in another high-priced play, but I think I'm probably fading Davis in this spot. How do you feel about the top 3 power forwards?
So I love Davis on DraftKings specifically. I'm not. Okay. I do like him for tournaments on FanDuel. Let me just get that out of the way too. I like him for tournaments. I think you could play him on FanDuel. I think you could play him all formats on DraftKings, especially with his value opening up. I mean, like we mentioned in the pod last night. Last time we saw Davis play the Wolves, 38-9. So I think there's tremendous upside here. It's going to be a really fun game with him and Karl-Anthony Towns, up pace, huge total. So I think you can play it. I don't intend to play Blake Griffin. He's going to go completely overlooked on this slate. So if you want to do it in a tournament, that's fine. No one's going to own him. And we've seen massive upside already. And I think LaMarcus Aldridge is in play all formats. I was very I want to play him in all formats last night. And then I was like, I don't think we can. But you bring up a good point. Devin Booker didn't play last time. And that is a key component to why this spread is only 5. Phoenix is at home. I think there is a path to this game staying close. And if that's the case, we're getting 40 out of LaMarcus Aldridge like we do every night. So I think Davis tournaments on FanDuel, Aldridge cash everywhere, Blake GPPs only.
Okay. I'm not gonna argue with you on that one. Jump down to sort of the mid-tier-ish. Aaron Gordon, Jason Tatum. 2 guys we've gone back and forth about. I'm a little bit more off Tatum now that I know Hayward's going to play full minutes. Aaron Gordon had a huge game against Philadelphia first time out. Put up over 40 fantasy points, 46.9 FanDuel points to be exact. Had a double-double in that game. Wilson Chandler, who's going to start at power forward tonight, has the worst defensive rating on the Sixers team, 109.9. I think he can easily take advantage of that while he's on the floor. I look for that to happen. Siakam is an interesting case. He doesn't have a great usage rate or fantasy point per minute numbers when Ibaka is off the floor, which seems odd if you look at that production. But still, this is a guy that's been very steady for us this season. I have no problem going to him at 6,400 on FanDuel. You said that Larry Nance is projected to be the highest owned player. Is that still the case?
I mean, it was before 3 minutes ago when 37 people have been ruled out or in. Right. So he was, and I think that was also before Cedi Osman. Let's see. He's still projected the highest.
Okay.
So I don't know if I'm going there anymore with Osman back. I liked him more with Osman out.
Okay.
Because I think Tristan Thompson is probably the better play.
I agree.
In this front court.
For sure. Thompson, definitely. You like Al-Farouq Amino tonight. You love him in pace-up games. This is the Lakers. He got 37 FanDuel points with only scoring 4 actual points against Lakers in an earlier matchup. So got to think that's going to improve. Further down, Kevin Knox starting tonight, 4,400 on FanDuel. You and I both like him. You think Ed Davis is a lock because they're not going to put a 6'7" Rondae Hollis-Jefferson on Hassan?
It's just crazy. It's crazy to think. They may, but they'll find out quickly how bad of an idea it is.
Yeah.
Like a bad idea. Like
it's not going to be good for them.
Right. So, I mean, I think it just makes sense to have the bigger body on the floor, which is, again, puts a path to DeMarre Carroll playing more minutes as a stretch 4 because Kenny Atkinson wants a big and he wants a stretch 4 on the floor at all times. So
yeah, I agree with you. We'll jump to center right there at Whiteside. The rule of thumb here, I said if we wrote like the commandments of DFS NBA, it'd be to play centers against the Nets. It's paid off the last 2 games tremendously in those matchups. Whiteside is averaging 17, 16, and 4.5 blocks over the last 4 games, which is insane. Hard to see him not come through for us tonight. The only way I can see it happening is if Brooklyn goes like super small and like Whiteside is just a non-factor because they're just hitting from the outside. But I don't think that happens. So definitely in on Whiteside. I think the fact that Valanciunas is going to play a bunch of minutes probably downgrades Drummond a little bit here, just because the bigger body is going to be on the floor. I know he was someone you said consistently goes overlooked, even though he always puts up like 20 games.
Right.
I question if he'll be able to do that tonight. Embiid and Towns at the top. Any interest of there?
I have a lot of interest in Karl-Anthony Towns now that we know Derrick Rose is out.
Yeah, that's fair. There's going to be a lot of usage going there. Vucevic had a triple-double against Philadelphia last time they played. I don't think we can count on the triple-double again, but I think 20 and 10 is in play. Steven Adams, no Russell Westbrook, I think is going to continue to be a cash game lock, even in this matchup against the Thunder. And maybe, I don't know the relationship between him and Enes Kanter, but maybe they had a little bit of tiff there too. And we know Kanter's a terrible defender. So we'll have to see how that one plays out. What other centers are on your radar?
I really think Marc Gasol is kind of going to fly under the radar tonight. I don't think he's someone that necessarily gets a downgrade with a pace down spot because he's so slow and, you know, he accumulates his points from peripheral stats regardless. We get a huge pace-up spot for Memphis, too. So I think Gasol's going to fly way under the radar. I love his price tag at $7K on DraftKings. Like, I think that's way too cheap. I think now Valanciunas gets a huge bump. I love Siakam, but I also love Valanciunas. I think they're kind of forced to start him.
1.45 fantasy points
it's really hard to ignore. And we know he's going to be in the paint with plenty of rebounding opportunities with Drummond, because Drummond doesn't leave that circle. Now, I think Drummond, it's a little wishy-washy because maybe foul trouble could be the death of Valanciunas, but that's why we only play him in tournaments.
Right. Tristan Thompson, you mentioned, I think he's in a really good spot, continues to be in a really good spot. There's really no reason for him to continue to be priced like he is when he's putting up 20 of rebounding efforts. So I have little problem going back to him there. You're the Brook Lopez whisperer. I said it on the podcast. Back-to-back 40-point games. I know Gasol is a good defender, but Brook Lopez just sits in the corner, sits on the perimeter, and shoots threes. So any interest in Lopez here?
You can do it, but like you said, good defender, Marc Gasol. So you don't need, like, with all this that just opened up, you don't need to.
No, I agree with you there. James, final thoughts on the slate before we jump into subscriber chat?
Be diligent with all this news. Make sure you grasp everyone that's out and who it affects with usage rates and so on and so forth, because it doesn't just impact the guy who's filling in for that player who's out. If it spreads around to the whole team. So that's something that we need to always keep in mind when someone's ruled out.
I agree 100%. All right, guys, this ends today's live stream. No live stream tomorrow on the 3-game slate. We'll have a write-up and example lineups for you as well as a podcast preview. So we'll get you back on the live stream on Friday.
Yep. Back on the live stream on Friday.